Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Casey, how's it been? Wait, how long has that been?
2 years, March 2020, so 2 years and 2 months since we've been seeing each other IRL. We have been doing the online versions, which has been great. So hopefully a lot of people who maybe were taking part and enjoying the online meetings are seeing it right now. And there will be questions. Kyle, who is behind the scenes, will be monitoring questions. So ask questions, you all out there, all y'all. And then there are people here at the Durham Hilton near Duke, and they made a wonderful spread, of which I ate almost all of it. And I'm Casey Durango, go to Casey, and I'm here to help moderate this meeting for Dr. Eric Westman of Duke University.
Yes, and we've been doing this support group now for 15, 12 years?
First one I came to was 2014, and you've been doing a long time by then. You were on your third locale by then.
Yeah, we started in a Duke place, the Tier House, and out there that, and then went to a restaurant and a different restaurant, and then ended up at Spartacus, the Greek restaurant in Durham, and then they got bought out by Chick-fil-A. And I think we might have had something to do with that. There was a little bit of a virus issue after one of our support groups. And that was the fateful day when you came in, and I remember you were sitting there, and you said, Dr. Westman, and I came up and I said, maybe you're eating when you're not hungry.
This was it, okay? So I came in, and I'm not a retiring person, a shy person, but it was this room full. Amy was there directing where everyone should be seating and how the U-shaped tables were going to be. And I sat.
Great lamb shape.
And Spartacus was a great restaurant. We had a room in the back. And I had been doing, for those who don't know my story, I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol on January 8, 2014, which was the day I decided I was never going to lose weight, but I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes, which I knew was the next thing up. Typed in how to not take insulin for type 2 diabetes, came across the White Food video with Dr. Eric Westman. And as I've said many times in front of him and behind his back, I don't know whether it was his calm delivery or his boyish good looks, but that message.
I'm still not sure which it was.
That message landed that day. The protocol was keep your carbohydrate intake 20 grams or fewer a day. It's not on page 4. I'm imitating Dr. Westman. If it's not on page 4, don't eat it. And don't eat, yeah, that's what I was doing. Don't eat it if you're not hungry. Well, page 4 was the handout.
So I have to say that, the pandemic hit, and I couldn't go into the classroom and teach a bunch of people. So I thought, how am I going to teach people? The video. So if you come to me in my office now, I do obesity medicine evaluation and all that, and then the teaching is a handout that has page 4, and also a video where I go over the handout that has page 4. And so you can go to YouTube and see me going over the handout for free. In fact, I watched the number of views go up, and it's more than my clinic patients. And I think maybe you have a robot going like this.
No, I don't. I don't. And
I just want to say, of all the videos out there, this one tells you what to do. Exactly. There's a lot of ones out there that talk about what the diet can do, right? I have a lot of them meeting presentations, but this one, the White Coat video, still stands today. I use it in teaching.
Now, something I like to do when we are having these things is to ask you, because you go to conferences, your friends and colleagues with people who are very well respected and well researched in the field, Jeff Golick, et cetera, Stephen Finney, and you hear them, and I've asked you, have you learned or seen anything that has kind of moved you off the button of keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer, total, not net, it's not on page 4, don't eat it if you're not hungry, and stop when you're satiated. Anything that moves you off that?
No, and in fact, that simple message has been helpful to a lot of people who are confused by the internet keto message.
Is it internet keto?
Yeah.
Y'all know what internet keto is? It's everything other than just keep your carbs 20 grams. It's pulls in macros and time of day eating and 124 ounces of water and food combining and blood type combining and well, your food's got to be good for you. So there are altered versions of page 4 by
And you have to make your own salad dressing because you can't have store-bought salad dressing.
because that would be evil and wrong. Well,
Yeah.
just look at the carbs.
Yeah,
Just look at the carbs. But there are some wrong versions of page 4.
but there is a road page 4.
There are many
Can't
rogue.
believe it.
There are many rogue page 4s, but there's a copyrighted page 4 as well,
Wow.
which is official.
The funny thing, because nobody, I give this away, okay? And nobody takes it. Page 4, no one would take it. So I started charging $9.99 for it. And people are buying it. Isn't that ironic?
It is ironic if you give it away. Well, you
It
know,
has no value.
it has no value. You know
Sorry,
what they
the
say
money
about
goes-
the cow in the milk.
Why don't we switch gears and
Okay.
ask who's here?
So, who's here for the first time? We did this right before. And so you said it's about half, and I think this is a modest group, but a good group to have here. Usually, I think we decided it was about 30%. And Dr. Weston, you always like to ask why you're here. And
Yes, I do.
so,
Well, you can.
okay, so I think Dr. Weston asked, okay, who was here against their will? Who was dragged here under duress? Okay, I'll go to this stupid meeting. Okay, no, there's
No.
usually somebody.
I know. That's
Okay,
nice.
good. So how
We can pull out the cultish things.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So
Kind of joke.
it's a kind of joke. So Dr. Westman, he tells jokes that only he ever gets.
Well, but then I say there's supposed to be a joke, and then people laugh.
Yes, we laugh at him.
I thought it was with you.
Yes, we laugh with him. So Dr. Westman will ask, who is doing the protocol? Okay, who has been doing it for at least a month? 3 months? 6 months? A year? 3 years? 5 years? 7 years? Look at the good-looking man over in the purple shirt. 10 years? Not me. I've only been doing it for 8.5. Amy has been doing it, and Eric has been doing it. If Jackie Eberstein was here, she was at 27.
She must be 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And people do it for weight loss, although we know it's not a weight loss diet. It is a fat burning diet, and you can be burning fat and putting on weight. A lot of people do it for health, for good blood work. Some people don't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes, which is where I was. And some people want to get in front of that instead of having to fix themselves. They say, I don't want to go down that road. The handsome guy in the purple shirt was there doing that. Of course, he happened to see me feeling much better and doing much better. So that's, to me, is really kind of the untold headline. They bury the lead about this diet. You know, if the front of the magazine is, I lost half my body weight in 3 months, which may or may not be true. But people who are coming off of medications, has anyone come off of medications since they've been doing this? Okay, Eric is doing it. So a lot of people come off of 9, 10 medications that they were told they were going to have to take for the rest of their lives. So anyway, that's enough blather for me.
Well,
You wanna
so I
blather?
wonder, does anyone want to come up and say hi? Introduce yourself. How it's been, even the old timers. It's been a couple of years.
I knew
The
Beth was
new
going to
timers,
come.
come on up.
I knew Beth was going to come.
Oh, I told Michael.
Yes, you.
Yeah, and then, you know, talk out here and hey, welcome.
So good to meet you. You are my hero.
Microphone.
Oh, you are my hero. You've saved my life.
Microphone.
Can't hear it?
You have to repeat that, please. Again. Again.
No, I drove all the way from Wilmington, North Carolina to
fantastic.
come meet you and tell you that you saved my life. You really, truly did. So, I was a caregiver for my husband for 8 years. He had Alzheimer's. I had given up on myself. I crawled into a hole, and I thought I was going to pass away before he did. So, anyway, he passed away about 2 years ago, and I crawled down in that hole with a bottle of wine and a lot of food, and it took me about a year to come out. But anyway, it's been 644 days. I've lost 85 pounds. I feel better now than I felt in my entire life. I'm aging in reverse. And I mean, I can't thank you enough for Casey. I've known Casey for 30 years. We had not seen each other for a long time. And the last time I saw Casey, she was, I
was fat.
You were big. So when I saw you in Greensboro a couple of years ago, I couldn't believe it. So anyway, she steered me to you.
Casey saved your life.
Well, no. She told me about you, and I watch all of your videos.
And you know who taught me? It was Jackie Eberstein and Dr. Atkins. So I'm just passing, all I did was formalize the research and get it, respected, and okay, that's something, but anyway, I'm just passing along some information.
Beth, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you tell the anecdote about your friend in Florida that you influenced, and she wrote you and said, I've been doing this for a month or whatever, and I've lost 7 pounds, I've never been able to, and she said, I've been doing your diet.
I know. I was like, well, one, it's not a diet, and two, it's not mine. And I told her to go to YouTube to watch some new videos. She's young, she's in good health, but she just wanted to lose a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this summer goes. I teach water aerobics, which is where I had my aha moment 644 days ago. It was Monday, 9:30 in the morning, and I looked down at the shadow of myself on the pool, and I was horrified. I went home that day, I threw everything out of my pantry, out of my refrigerator, and I started over. So, and I haven't feared one day, one meal, one day. So, it's truly, if you can, saved my life.
Wow,
so,
thank you.
That's why I came from Wilmington to see you.
Welcome to Durham.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
So I usually get these strokes in the clinic. I'm in my white coat.
What kind of a clinic do you run, man?
Well, these positive.
Emotional stroking. Okay, I got it.
Casey, my goodness, we're gonna have to watch out for the censors. But then the interesting thing is, you go to a conference like the ADAPT event, and there are 500 people in the room, kind of giving you all this whole thank you, and then we're on teaching on the internet now with thousands of people basically having great results. It really is overwhelming, and this is one reason why I'm really kind of emotionally stunted, because it would be overwhelming, repressed or whatever. So.
Oh, is that the reason?
Well, actually, the reason is I thought doctors were supposed to just do this. I thought doctors were supposed to help people.
He actually said that to me one time. We were here at the Durham Hilton, and it might have been the night of the alcohol test, and I stayed here.
Well, I was part of that.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. So anyway, I couldn't drive home because I'd been dosed with alcohol, which they monitored. And so we're having dinner afterwards, and I had been doing this for some time, and I said, Dr. Westman, man, do you not get tired of hearing and answering the same questions over and over? The first night I was at Spartacus, I know that I asked questions you've heard 450 times, and you just answered it like it was just new to you, and you said, let me think about that, and you gave me an answer. So I said, hey, are you just preternaturally calm or what? He said, yeah, that is kind of my demeanor, but people need help, and I thought that's what doctors are supposed to do, is help people. Well, I fell a little bit in love that night, let me tell you what. That is what you want from a doctor. Well, you want that from anybody, that if they think they're supposed to help other people, they actually do. But some doctors are not so much that way, or they're a little defensive about us having our own opinions, or they believe the things that they were taught that were wrong. Dr. Westman tells the story about how he came to this. He was a traditionally trained internist. Low fat, move more, eat less. And then a couple of patients at the VA hospital came in doing the same thing, steak and butter. I'm worried about your cholesterol. Well, you're a doctor, man, tested. And he says, I was not, this is the other thing, I think it's in the white coat video. He said, I was not so overtrained that I couldn't see what was going on in front of my very eyes. That is an inquisitive, curious person. Forget about whether you're a doctor or not. It's a bad thing to be incurious, but to be curious and to be a researcher, and we have to do that with ourselves. We have to be curious about ourselves, and if something just doesn't make logical sense, if Beth has been avoiding carbs for 644 days, is there any reason that logic would tell her to go back? No. But some of us, we have to get to that point where I know laying off carbs really does kind of work for me, and then we abandon it. And some of us need several at-bats, which is why you have support group meetings and everything. The food is simple. It's a list of food. It's one page long. But it's what do I do when I go out to dinner? What do I do when my mother-in-law comes in? What happens when I've had a rot day? And what happens when all the commercials are coming at us saying Haagen-Dazs is the answer to all your problems, and Reese's Pieces now
Well, it's
come
temporarily.
Well,
Temporarily.
and they don't really, it's not really temporary. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that tangent.
Another new person or old person. Who
Or
wants
old
to come up
person.
and say hi?
No, let's hear from an old person.
I'm getting uncomfortable because this is not supposed to be about me.
Okay. Well, we can make it about me because I'm down with that.
Okay.
No.
Well, and we are kind of doing, giving the whole history and all because we really haven't been together
Yes,
for
it's
2
pretty
years.
exciting. Yeah. Is anybody excited to be back in a safe environment?
Yeah.
Yay!
So I'm really curious, these newcomers in this front table. Would you want to say hi? Come on.
I'll take Dr. West.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Emily. Microphone up? Oh, yes. I have been doing keto kind of off and on for a year or so. Was doing good for about 3 months or so, and went on vacation, and life happened. So I came back to see Dr. Westman, a patient of his, and he said, well, I was having some GI issues, and he said, well, what are you eating? So I'm like, I'm putting nut pods in my coffee, and he said, what's that? So he looked it right up, and he said, oh, you can't have that. I was like, oh, okay, oopsie. So, kind of life happened a little bit, and then the GI symptoms started to go away when I did away with the nut pods. But then I started incorporating nuts again outside of the nut pods, and handful here, handful there. And the GI symptoms kind of went away, but then my menstrual cycles were 20 days, which is not normal, but especially it was my normal.
They lasted for 20 days?
Yeah.
Oh.
20 days for 8 months in a row.
Oh, no.
Yes. So I called my mom. She's like, you gotta, get your act together. Like, it works. So anyway, back on the bandwagon, full strength. So this is my 3rd month of 28 days.
Yay!
Back on the program. So, but hearing about this, my mom did the master class with you. So she said, oh, Dr. Westman's in Durham. You have to make an appointment with him right now. I'm like, hey, Mom, it's kind of hard to get in with. So I don't know if she's watching. Hi, Mom. But yeah, the plan has been great. I feel so much better. I have a little.
Period's better?
Yes. We're all is well. I have a little 2-year-old, keeping up with her, not as tired. The inflammation was so bad that it was waking me up in the middle of the night with just the nuts. It was just the inflammation was just. I was seeing a chiropractor 3 times a week at that point. Like, that's a band-aid for the problem. So, yeah. No, she was happy to see me. But yeah, saved my life. You saved my life.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm so happy that to look at your website and saw that you guys had the Durham support group meeting up this week. So I was able to come and get some information from all of you.
Very good. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. So it works for 30 plus something for others.
30 plus. She's a child.
Compared to
Now, no one needs to share, but this is a safe place to share. And other people, I think a lot of times we tend to think that we're the only one going through the thing we're going through which we are going. I don't want to end my sentence with a preposition. The fact is, the details may change, but life always happens. Life always comes at us. And the absolute answer is that food doesn't fix any of those issues unless the issue happens to be hunger. By the way, I've got magnets. I brought magnets and spiral books and pop sockets to sell, yes, to vend. You don't have to buy one thing to be 100% successful at this protocol, but I will sell you a book and a magnet and a mug all day long. But that is the thing. We get stumbled by a disease, a bad relationship. Bad relationship, and I'm going to wind it up because I'm talking too long because Eric's going to come speak. Another Eric. It's Eric, right? Yes. But we tell ourselves, well, I was doing great and then I had a bad day. Or I was doing great and then I use food to cope. We use food to not cope. By definition, we use food to avoid coping. I was doing great, but I'm a stress eater. Well, does the food actually help after it's past your esophagus? Because usually once it passes your esophagus, gets into your stomach, now you're having guilt on top of stress. You feel lousy and like a failure. So we all have to deal with those things. And I was morbidly obese for 30 years. From my mid-20s to my mid-50s, as Beth said, I was fat. Oh, she didn't say that. I said I was fat. But I was. And I said all of those things that we all say. I used all the same excuses until I hit that point where I just didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I'd given up on weight, and then everything else just fell into place. Who's up next?
Well, actually, Eric is up next. Hi, I'm the man behind the green curtain, and this is more for the benefit of, we have quite a few people on the line. I am aware that we're having audio issues. This is a volunteer effort, so we're scrambling here after 2 years of sequestered, whatever we all did for all that time, I can't even say. So we're doing our best, and then we have next month, so we'll continue to improve. We're aware, and I apologize for the bad audio, kind of, because it's really better here anyhow. So you get to watch this remotely. Now, with that, I'd like to introduce Eric. So I myself have lost 80 pounds, and Eric has quite the story. His is far better than mine.
We don't have, well, yeah, we don't have time for the whole story. Yeah, we don't. But I'll give you the start of it. At age 40, I started running marathons just because a patient of mine, for her 50th, she trained for and ran a marathon. Oh, that's cool. I'll do that. I needed to lose some weight. I had high blood pressure, had mood issues, and all this. So yeah, I'll do that. So I do. Okay, there we are. So I do that from age 40 to 56 on blood pressure medicine the whole time. And then
you mentioned you're a patient, so you're...
Yeah, well, the patient just motivated me to exercise.
You're a doctor or something.
I'm an optometrist.
I know that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm an optometrist. So it was a patient of mine. But okay, so now I go to the doctor, and they said, oh, your A1C is 5.7, and you're pre-diabetic. I said, well, no, I've done 20 marathons. But there was, I feel bad for the doctors in this situation. Didn't have time to evaluate the whole picture, and she said, literally, eat less fat and exercise more. But really, that was January of 16, and it was probably to my benefit that was, because I just sat there and said, well, I know it's half wrong, because I'm not going to do double marathons and fix this problem. So then, but my problem was from there, I just went to the internet. And that was a very long, winding road to finally finding Dr. Westman's information. And I go on PubMed, I go to the conferences, I'm obsessed with this. But I kept saying, oh, I want to see Dr. Westman. Okay, I want to read Dr. Westman. I want to read Dr. Westman. Finally, I Googled Dr. Westman. he's right here. 15 miles away. and then I came to a meeting like this and cleared up some questions I had. And yeah, it's been a journey. That was 2016. I've been keto since 2017. Cleared up a lot of health problems. But the confusing thing to me, standing here right now, this should be standing room only.
Well, we didn't tell anyone we were meeting, really.
So, well, but it's frustrating because I've fixed myself.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know you know. And but I had that moment of, oh wow, I can solve everybody's problem. And so everybody's going to be so interested, about this. Yeah, that's a good laugh. Yeah, so I now, my latest person I've talked with, I said, this is fixable if you choose to fix it. And that's kind of the way I'm approaching talking to people about this now. Because it is your choice, and no one's going to force you to do something you don't want to do. But the benefits are, we can talk about that in the next time I stand up here. But mood benefits, blood pressure benefits, blood sugar went down, just everything, anxiety gone. So.
Yeah, it's so unbelievable. People wouldn't believe it. It's like it's like I'm overselling. I don't say everything that it does because then people won't believe me. But now, is doing keto okay for the eyes? You're not.
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's going to help with diabetes. Obviously, one of the biggest problems that can cause vision loss, and helps with dry eye too. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have to say I don't get that question very much. It's usually, is keto okay for the heart?
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah, but
yeah.
of course it is.
And that's of course it is. And it's, well, Dr. Atkins, wasn't he heart related? He was wasn't he a heart doctor?
He's a cardiologist,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Will you be, I heard that there's going to be low carb Denver again.
Yeah.
Are you going to go out
Oh
there
yeah,
again?
I'm going to San Diego also. I went there last August. I'm gonna go again.
Great. How about Metabolic Health Summit?
No, I can't. Yeah.
That's this week.
My wife
Yeah.
lets me go to one a year. She's not watching. I'm certain of that. But I have a friend here, and I didn't know she was going to be here.
Well,
And,
come on up.
Well, she probably doesn't want to come.
No?
up.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm very glad to see her, and yeah, see what else I can get here.
Fantastic.
Questions? Or?
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good. Any other questions?
Yeah, does anybody? Yeah.
Eric, are spouses, or is the plural of spouse spice? Our spice need a support group, right?
Yeah, no, we're past that. That was the first year of me doing keto.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, yeah, and she's not keto. She's in good health, doesn't need to be. For what she's doing, she's happy and doing well, and that's great for her. I need to do keto.
Yeah.
But no, that was a challenge. So yeah, if you're starting this and someone in your house isn't doing this, that's got to be worked out, and we worked it out. But it was a bumpy workout.
Thanks so much. Anyone want to tell their stories? Come on.
Does anyone have a question? You don't have to be on camera to
Yeah,
ask
you can have a
it.
question.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I've seen some recipes lately that have lupin flour.
Lupin?
Lupin, L-U-P-I-N.
The flour?
Lupin, like
Sounds like a wolf.
a wolf?
It's-
Lupin? I don't know.
Do you know of any alternative flour that would make sense?
Well, how many grams of carbs is the question?
It's low, it's very low.
So, but at first, so what I teach is prescription strength keto. So it'll work when other versions don't. And I don't want people to have almond flour or nut flours at first, even though they're really low in carbs, and a lot of people use it and they seem to do fine, but I don't let people have that. So I wonder if it's going to be kind of like those other flours. I've never heard of lupin flour.
Well, we're doing your 20 grams. We're on
Uh-huh.
the strict, no nuts, the
So you're doing the page 4 list, limiting things, and is it working?
It is.
And you're having lupin flour?
The only thing we use lupin flour in is there's a tortilla recipe. that
Well,
uses
so you're having it.
a tablespoon of it. In those tortillas, I made them twice.
So you're having it.
12 carbs and how much?
Oh,
I'm just,
while Beth is looking it up, because Google tells us everything.
12 grams.
well, but so my point is you're having it every now and then, and whatever you're doing is working. Why are you asking me if it's working? And if you can have it, because it's working. No, this is a common thing where, I'm having this, once a month, and I'm cheating, and I know you're going to be mad at me, and I'm like, you're down 20 pounds. Go ahead and cheat again. I mean, no, it's not cheating if it's working. So now, however, if almond flour and nuts get out of control and you can't control them, that's why I don't allow for those. And so strictly speaking, if someone says, can I have, I'll say, well, is it on the page? Well, no, then no. I mean, it's a simple way to give direction and containment on the world of choices available. Just stick to the list, let the hunger go away. There's plenty of other things to have. A lot of the simplification is what we've done with our internet classes at Adapt Your Life Academy, just to take away the noise. But we'll have to look into that. Did someone get a carb count?
Yeah. Lupin flour is very high in carbs. It's about 40, so in a serving of 100 grams, it's 40 grams carbs and 40 protein. The balance is fat.
Yeah, so it's high in carbs.
It's high in carbs.
If you don't have much of it, like it's in a tortilla wrap, you might be able to do it and get it. Kind of like I go to a wedding, I get a piece of cake, and I have a forkful of the cake. I'm not getting out of ketosis. So there's no keto food. Ketosis is a state of metabolism. And you can have things that have carbs if you don't have much of it. So that might be what's going on. You're not having it very often. And
So if it's a tablespoon, do you really need it? Does it make a difference? But you know where I come from, because of my history with eating, is not so much, I mean, yeah, the carbs are very important, but eating fake versions of the food that got me really fat in the first place is a slippery slope for me. And it might be fine to have a low-carb tortilla, so-called, if it is. But then if that makes me want to have another one, or a so-called low-carb mud cake or cupcake or whatever they're called, and then I want another one. And maybe if I even just want a chaffle, I said it, chaffle.
you said it first.
I did say it first, I beat you to it. Chaffles, chaffles, it's just an egg and an ounce of cheese or whatever it is. Well, that's fine, but then if you say, well, it's just an egg and an ounce of cheese, I'll make a chaffle is a silly word for a waffle that's made with egg and cheese. And they make little chaffle makers.
It's brilliant.
It's not brilliant. It's ridiculous, and he just makes them to irritate me. So
They're delicious.
but see, if you're someone who says, oh, it is so delicious, and it's just an egg and an ounce or two of cheese, I think I'll make two, and I'll make a little
Well,
bigger.
then you can't have.
Well, then,
Yeah.
so then I had it for breakfast. I made an egg Durango with chaffles, and now I think I just have a tuna salad sandwich with chaffles. Now you're up to 4. So now you're up to 8 ounces of cheese. The thing is,
Point well taken.
all right. So also, almond flour is not low carb, dear, at all.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you just said it was. Or lower in carb. It's very high in carbs. It is. So, it is. And so, and another thing is, if
Why
there
don't you
is
just stay to the list?
just stay to the list.
Yeah,
Guess what's
that
not
makes
on
it
the
easier.
Guess what's not on the list? Keto clusters in a box at Costco. Or
they are
keto
pretty good
ice
though.
cream on a stick. Or if it says keto on the, does everyone know that keto is not a regulated term?
Yeah.
That anything could be labeled keto, including an angel food cake? Keto angel food cake. I like the idea that there was paleo pancake mix, because I know a lot of cavemen were eating pancakes. There was a big deal back in prehistoric times. And I don't know. A new
Our new cookbook
Oh, you
just
have-
came out, yeah.
I've already got it.
Yeah, the question was about new great cookbooks. Well, and your Carb Confusion cookbook just came out this
Eric,
month.
are you a shill?
Yeah.
Are you a shill? That Eric.
Well, I brought one. No, just kidding. It's a great cookbook. In fact, Scott Barker is the first chef who's been working in Michelin star restaurants for 20 years to put his mind to keto diets. And the way he explains it is that when he comes home, he's been cooking all day. He doesn't want to cook much. So he is sharing all of his little secrets on how to do things really quickly, including the cauli rice in the microwave using fresh cauliflower. You'll never have that kind of wet, frozen cauliflower stuff again. So anyway, check out End Your Carb Confusion cookbook. It is pretty great.
Well done. Any other questions? Since we trounced the poor woman, all she wanted to know was about a teaspoon of lupin flour?
Yeah, I know. Sorry, you had to be the sacrificial lupin.
Any questions from the interwebs?
No, I told them that they can cue us up one. Eric, try moving your hands up that mic. I did get some noise from the area there.
Okay. Well, I did have kind of a sad bit of news.
Uh-oh.
You remember a faithful attendee at this group and a patient of mine for years, Doris Chisenhall.
Uh-oh.
Doris passed
Oh.
this year in January of COVID. She was 85, and she is how could I say it, the unbelievably intrepid soul who lived through a lifetime of schizophrenia and just tormented issues that after 8 days, her issues were gone, 8 days of a keto diet. We published a paper on her, and she actually is the beginning of the metabolic psychiatry units at Harvard and Stanford. There are 2 psychiatrists now, Dr. Shivani Sethi at Stanford and Dr. Christopher Palmer at Harvard, who have metabolic psychiatric units.
This is because in part
Because
of
of
Doris'
Doris.
story.
Because of Doris.
Do any of you remember Doris coming to the meetings?
Yeah, I mean, she would come, occasionally she'd come up and talk, and but she had lost about, gosh, over 180 pounds and just transformed, and it always was kind of on the edge of poverty, so she ended up in a nursing retirement home, and in January everyone was getting the surge again, and so anyway, so let me just give a moment to think about Doris.
Absolutely.
And all the other folks who you may have lost over the last couple of years. Most families were touched in some way.
Did she start off bedridden?
So Doris, did she start out bedridden? No, but she did have one of those roller walkers. So,
You might be thinking of Jean, who was bedridden and then...
From Virginia, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, we're listening, she started out bedridden. She was in her 60s and very overweight, and she just made the decision to change, and she did. And I think the first time I met Jean, she might have been in a wheelchair. That was a big deal. Yeah. And then the next time she came to a meeting 3 months later, she's on a walker. And then she came in two canes, and then she came to the Keto with Casey road show. No canes, no walkers. She actually crashed our luncheon. It was great. And that was just from the food, she's not got rocks. She and her husband, hard scrabble. Can you share about your food delivery program and the woman who came off years of insulin?
Sure. So, the big research money has not been available to study low carb diets ever, so it's really hard to get studies done that pharmaceutical companies, for example, would just overnight be able to do because they have so much money. So last summer, I'm kind of sitting around, what do I do? Hey, what if we sent food to people's houses, show them what to eat, and let's target people with diabetes. So last summer I wrestled together some friends and doctors and the medical students had a program where they were giving food to people, but it was fruits and vegetables. And my patients would say, but Dr. Westman, you don't want me to have fruits and vegetables. So there was this little tension between the students bringing them the fruit, and so I went to the med student who created the program, Julian, and said, Julian, hey, can we just change the food a little bit? So the student director said, yeah, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to give people keto foods. He said, what's that? Well, meat, poultry, fish, and shellfish. And he's looking at me like, that's not good for the environment. He knew more. So medical students know more about what they're told about what's good for the environment than what's good for the human body in terms of nutrition. So I thought, here's a teachable moment. Let me get this super smart leader involved in a keto program. We got and he said, okay, I'm in, but it has to be done in a certain way. And I'm like, well, I think we could do it by giving people McDonald's vouchers. And he's like, no, we can't do that. That's just not, it's not good food. I'm like, yeah, it is. No, it's not. Well, so he put in imposed this restriction that it had to be super clean, locally available food. And he found it. So he got our local community, the Durham Co-op, these other places where they have frozen meats that they're going to throw away, and they go get it. And then we delivered it to people who are on Medicaid or below, and also on diabetes medicines, who come through our safety net clinic. I work side by side with that clinic. And so sure enough, every week they were able to get locally prepared or locally grown frozen meats. Kyle was delivering, and there were lobster tails one week. And then one week we had to teach people how to make lobster tails. Then there were these beautiful rainbow trouts. I mean, so that's the downside of taking really bougie food to commoners. What do we do with this?
Bougie.
Bougie, yeah. Dina, isn't that?
That's good. That's hip.
That's it, thanks. Coming from Casey, that's great. So anyway, this is the kind of program that you have no money to start. In fact, you don't need a grant to do a program like this. You already have the people in line to get the foods and the volunteers to deliver the food. In 3 weeks, this one person was on 600 units of insulin, and in 3 weeks she was off all of her insulin by getting food, but it had to be special food. And looking back, so this is Shelley, and Shelley came to talk to our chancellor, who happened to be at the program there. And she said, I heard Dr. Westman's program. I went to him in the clinic, and I said, there's no way I'm going to do that. I got my husband and my mom and all, and they lived in a little building behind the church, the rectory. I don't know if you had a chance to go drop off food there, Kyle, but it's just this little place. And she said, but when you called and said you'd deliver me food, I thought, maybe I'll give it a try. And so she started giving the food, and so we actually gave her 2 packages, one for her husband, and because he was on all this insulin as well. So she's been on insulin for 20 years, and if you haven't heard me speak before, it doesn't matter how long you had insulin treatment. I can usually get you off in a matter of days to weeks off of insulin, because you're treating the food that you're eating in a large part. But so she was down about 30 pounds by the end of the 8-week period, down 30 pounds off of all of her insulin, and her blood sugars were better than before. And now, we stopped the program at 8 weeks, kind of evaluated things, did the program again with people who had not come through our clinic, and it didn't go so well. So that if you were just given, here you stay to this list of foods, and we're going to deliver to you, and you can't eat any other food, not everyone will actually be that strict. So what we're doing is we're restarting the program with people who have come through our clinic. In fact, the new round of people, this one gal, she's seen me for 10 years. She hasn't lost more than 5 pounds, and she's already down 10 pounds by us delivering her food on the weekend once a week and just saying stay to that food. And so yeah, that's something we're going to continue to do. And you can actually support that program at ketomedicine.org, which is the clinic support group and funding site that I set up at Duke. So that's one of the programs. But in the back of my mind, I wondered, is it really just food? I've worked at Diet and Fitness Center in Durham, which is a residential weight loss program where people come from all over the world. Of course, it doesn't exist anymore. They closed it last year. And I saw people who were at the top of their, CEOs, company presidents, and they come and they don't have control of food and have the same kind of issues that you have. But there was also some exercise and stress management. And then I'm like, we're taking people who are stressed socioeconomically to the hilt, and we're just changing the food. They're not exercising, they're not walking, they're not getting hand holding or anything. Casey, it's just the food.
It's just the food. It's just the food. And it's not what you do eat, it's what you don't eat. You don't have to pile. How many grams of fat should I eat every day, Dr. Westman?
Don't ask, please.
Well, because you don't know, because who knows?
And it might depend.
It depends, and my needs have changed over the time that I've been doing this because I have grown older, and I have lost weight, and my body chemistry has changed, and my body composition has changed. But the protocol really is keep your carbs low, and don't eat if you're not hungry, which is the hardest part. Would anyone disagree with that? They don't eat if you're not hungry? Who had to relearn or learn for the first time what hunger feels like? Because I did, because our brain tells us to eat, but that's not necessarily hunger. That's just calling for more glucose. I'm here to tell you, in this room and in the interwebs, that if I can do this, you can do it. Because I had thrown in the towel and I had every excuse. I am everybody. I am the every person. I am the every person. Kyle, are you saying if you can do it, anyone can do it?
I'm saying, hello, Kyle here. We have questions.
Great.
All right.
Kyle, if I may, can you share your story? Because you're not just the man behind the screen.
Okay, I'll be really fast. Because I was talking earlier, hey everybody, Kyle Screenack. I work at Duke, and I had serendipitously come across one of Dr. Westman's more clinical presentations because my GP had just said I was morbidly obese. I think it was 35 BMI when I came in, and I was a 46 waist. I was 300 pounds. And I've done everything. I've done Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, NutriSlim, OptiFast, cabbage soup diet, and you did not want to be in my house during the cabbage soup diet. So I've tried every crazy, the rice cake diet. It's just insane. We're in this like Stockholm syndrome when it comes to food because of these crazy food guidelines. So I had done Atkins in 2008. I knew it could work, but then I went down and, I started to have more nuts than, I had all kinds of nuts, and I'm like, I'll have a slice of bread. I'll have 2 slices of bread, backslid all the way. I knew it worked. I saw Dr. Westman's clinical video. I was convinced, and also Dr. Westman has this calm, confident demeanor that we need more of right now because it's kind of crazy to make keto seem like a crazy, trendy thing. It's not. It's solid evidence. This is the way we all ate 200 plus years ago. So this is not a fad unless, I don't know how you define fad. And that was 5 years ago. I started page 4. God bless Dr. Westman because he put up with every insane question that my brain could conjure. And he kept me on the straight and narrow. Well, I'm sure that's not easy. And here I am 5 years later. And one of the reasons why I like to help him out is because I've been told forever saturated fat will kill you. My father died from colon cancer when he was 41. So I've been terrified of those issues. And now that I've been on this, this is TMI. Let's just say I had a really good visit the last time that was looked at. So it's better. So I don't know how the epidemiological studies that told me to be scared, how they got there, it's not happening. So, always work with your doctor on this. It was actually my GP that referred me to Dr. Westman. It was all within the Duke system. So, yeah, you know, I'm not throwing out doctors. I'm alive because of doctors, especially Dr. Westman. So that in a nutshell is my story, but we have some questions. And I want
Let's take them.
The two charming, if erudite hosts take them. All right, the first question is...
By the way, yes, we do need calm demeanors. Don't forget the boyish good looks.
That
helps as well.
Still.
Still,
Wow, thanks.
boyish-ish.
Okay, I've got Anna Care. I've been keto for over 2 years, lost 40 pounds, type 2 diabetes is under control, A1C is 5.2. Lately, I feel dizzy or lightheaded for 2 months. Do you know why? What can I do about it?
Wow.
Wow. Congratulations, by the way.
Congratulations, and there are a lot of questions to ask back. Don't know if we can, but so, first of all, it's very hard to give medical advice over the internet. In fact, it's impossible. In fact, I've now helped people through internet classes, and then they come to see me after the internet class, and lo and behold, there are 10 different reasons why it didn't work on the internet class, because we didn't know you were on these medicines and these other things. Anyway, so we'll do the best I can. So dizziness is not common on a keto diet. Something's not right. Of course, any medical issue can happen on a keto diet. It might be dizziness from some other reason. Don't only think about the diet as a possible cause. But so early on, I think of not getting enough salt. And if you're just starting, you want to use salt supplementation to get through the keto flu or the keto adaptation, it's called. But later on, even after a couple of years, and I don't know if you're at your goal weight, before that, medications are things that can cause dizziness. And so if you're on high blood pressure, medicine, that sort of thing, you want to be sure to monitor the blood pressure and any other medicines that you might be using. But Steve Finney says, and if you don't know that name, it's like E.F. Hutton says. Remember the old commercials, E.F. Hutton, and everyone's stuck.
You're the only one that remembers that.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of old. So, yeah, thank you. But what Steve Finney says, so if the advanced course for learning about low-carb diets is to read these 2 little books called The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living and The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance, written by Steve Finney and Jeff Volek, who are both co-authors with me on the New Atkins book. But they went and wrote these other 2 little books. And in there, Steve Finney says that you should eat 5 to 7 grams of salt per day once you're keto adapted and want to eat this way forever. So you want to make sure you're getting enough salt, meaning sodium, electrolytes, that sort of thing. I've seen a lot of electrolytes for sale these days, and I think that's a fine way to get salt and magnesium, or you could just use bouillon cubes or crystals and milk of magnesia to get magnesium. That's what I teach in my clinic. But so I wonder, any other thoughts about dizziness a couple years into, I don't know what keto means. Of course, I need to make sure you're eating food and protein comes first on a keto diet, not coconut oil and MCT oil and all these other things, or nut pods. Nice to hear the follow-up on that. Nut pods was a culprit for GI issues. But any other dizziness thoughts?
I had dizziness actually one time. I'd been doing this about 3 years. Christmas Eve of about the 3rd year I was doing it, and it felt like vertigo. It happened
Room spinning?
Room spinning.
Okay, that's vertigo, the room spinning.
Room spinning, and I was having to hold the wall. So it was very close onto that. We had the January Durham's corporate meeting in person. And so I asked you about it after it was all over. And of course, the first thing you said was, well, had you been drinking heavily the night before? Dude.
You mean drinking alcohol?
Yeah, cranberry juice. Yes, it's alcohol. Well, I was in college, I did that. No, I had not been doing that. So you said, well, he does this. He says he does. He says he doesn't, but he does. So he started, are you getting enough sodium? I said, sure, I'm getting sodium. I salt my food. Yeah. Are you getting enough sodium? And I realized that over the course of time, over 3 years, I was eating much less food. So I was, not much less food, but I was getting less. So anyway, he says, well, you know what Stephen Finney says. And you know Stephen Finney. It's like E.F. Hutton when he, we all know that it's...
I'm a broken record.
You
Remember
are
those records?
absolutely. Oh, I do vinyl, yes. Throwback. So anyway, the next day I got some bouillon. I upped my sodium intake. Vertigo went away. Now, I don't keep that up because I am prone to edema, which is water retention. I also don't have sodium-sensitive hypertension, so I wasn't too worried about it. But it's almost like a little reboot. And then I just, now I liberally take sodium in my food, but I don't get very fancy with it. But that was my experience with dizziness, and it happened one time and it went away.
All right, super. We're ready for the next question. And I am not vetting these. So Victoria asks, I've read hibiscus tea downregulates aldosterone and helps with fat burn, ALDOSTERONE. Is this okay to drink provided it's sugar-free with prescription strength page 4 keto?
I don't know the specifics about using hibiscus tea to enhance fat burning, so there might be some research on that. My first question would be, are there any carbs in it? So if there are no carbs, you like it, you tolerate it, great. Sure, I think that would be compatible with, so page 4 is a list of foods, the meat, poultry, fish, and shellfish, and eggs, 1 cup of non-starchy vegetables, 2 cups of leafy greens, a limited amount of cheese, mayonnaise, that sort of thing. And then there's kind of like, well, what about condiments? They're not on page 4. Well, are there any carbs in condiments? Well, no. Okay. So really there's an inherent wisdom to, also there's one little line at the top that says keep the carbs under 20 total grams for the day. So if you add in something like tea or coffee that has no carbs, you're not adding carbs to it, it's probably going to be okay.
Moving
I
on.
concur.
Thank you.
This one?
Well, you know, the reason, you know, I got the academic side and you got the, you know, like real world side.
Real world. Walk the walk, baby.
There you go.
I like this one. How do you all avoid temptations of non-keto food?
There's the question. That's why we have a support group. Because this food is simple, which does not mean that doing this is easy. And at some point, like Eric was saying, you're either curious or you're committed. And if you're not committed, that's not a character flaw. I knew low carb worked for me in 1977. I had put on 13 pounds. I was in college. I wanted to lose it. I was a sophomore. I got that Atkins Diet Revolution. I wish I still had that book. I'd get Jackie Evertine to autograph it for me. But I lost the weight. What I did was induction for like 3 weeks, threw the book away. And then again, I did it in the early 2000s. And then life came at me, because that's what we tell ourselves. Things got hard. And I started with the bagel, from the bagel pyramid. Some of you know the story about the bagel pyramid. And I went from there to self-medicating with mashed potatoes and tequila. And I put all the little bit of weight I lost, I put back on. And then I just threw in the towel. And I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And what happens when you tell yourself you can't do something is you generally don't do it. And that sounds trite. And I don't want to sound like a poster, you know, with a kitten hanging from the limb saying, just hang in there, baby. But at some point we have to be responsible for our actions. And we like to tell ourselves that our emotions have control over our actions. But actually, we are in control of our this is an action over which we have control. Putting hand to mouth, unless we have Tourette's of the arms, we are in control of that. And I have a t-shirt that I'm going to hear, best-selling t-shirt, I'm stronger than a cookie. Because for 20 years I told myself, well, I know low carb works, but I can't see myself going the rest of my life without eating tortilla chips. Because I love them, and I can't give them up. And I couldn't until I did. Because My line in the sand was I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. For some people, it's a number on the scale. For some people, it's a size on jeans. I started out 24W jeans. I was big, big. And I'm wearing, these are size 6. But I didn't do this to lose weight. I couldn't stand the idea of living another 35 years feeling the way I felt emotionally and physically. And I didn't want to. So anyway, how do you resist the foods? Is you decide that you're stronger than a cookie. And that, yes, your Aunt Ida baked that pie just for you, but she'll be okay. If her identity's wrapped up in a pie, then Aunt Ida needs therapy. No one gets a vote on what we eat. And that is a very difficult stance to take with a partner. If your partner's not on board, your kids, your mother-in-law, your coworkers, nobody gets a vote. And ultimately, it is our decision. We have to give up the carbs. We have to lay off the carbs and lay off the excuses. And that doesn't sound kind, but it's accurate. And I can say it because I had to do that as well. And Eric has a question.
I have a question, because every now and then, type 2 diabetic, I'll talk to them about diet. And now you ask them, and I talk for a pretty good while, and then first words, and I'm curious if Dr. Westman's heard this. I know he has. I don't know how often, because it seems uncanny. First words, patient says back, but I love bread. Is that
Bread, pasta, rice, fruit, you name it. But I love bread. Well, so from a clinical standpoint, I think there's probably a bell-shaped curve for those who are able to resist foods.
I was a bell-shaped curve.
Well, and if you end up in my office, morbidly obese, I hate that term, but overweight or obese and out of control, you're probably at the edge of the spectrum where you have an addiction. You have either food or sugar addiction. And what that means is you have a craving for something, you give into it, you're going to crave it again. You're going to. It's just like an addict for alcohol or crack or heroin. You give into the drug, you're going to want it again. So total avoidance is probably the best method to deal with addiction of any kind, including a food addiction. And but early on, the longer you go away from fruit, the less you'll want it. And but if you have a little piece of fruit every month, it's going to kindle like embers in a fire. It's going to make that craving happen.
Dr. Westman, do you crave cigarettes?
Well, I don't smoke.
Oh,
so I don't crave cigarettes.
So you don't?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Do you crave fruit?
No.
Oh,
I don't eat fruit anymore. I don't eat fruit.
Well, okay.
Yeah, you and I will, and I'm a lay person.
The point is that if you don't have something, you don't crave it. Well, so this is a little secret. Someone comes in, they're having hunger. I'll tell the medical student, if they say they have hunger, they're eating carbs. So we go in, they circle hunger, and the student's looking like, oh, so I see, oh, you're having some carbs, and then I'll ask, what are you craving? And I prep the student. If they tell you the food they're eating, but you ask if they're craving it, they're eating it because they're craving it. So I go in and they think I'm just brilliant, like a magician,
And jolly.
And what are you craving? Potatoes. Well, you must be having potatoes. And the students fall back like I'm some miracle worker. It's all pretty obvious that you crave the food you're eating. Do you crave sardines?
No. I don't eat sardines.
Yeah.
I did
Some
ask.
people do.
Yeah, some do. But I did ask the question: does anybody crave alligator?
Yeah, anyone from Florida?
And some people do eat alligator, but not the people I talk to as a rule, and they don't crave it because they don't eat it. I will say, and this is not the right form for this, but I will say I approach this word, the A word, addiction, a little differently than you might, but you're a learned medical person. I just have a more practical, boots on the ground type of approach to it. That, as you said, if you do, I think it's too strong a word to use for food. And people say, well, alcoholics don't have to drink every day. But I have to eat food every day, and I take exception with that. It's a false equivalency. Alcoholics do have to drink every day. They just have to not drink alcohol. We do, well, it's questionable whether we have to eat every day, but assume we need to eat something every day. We eat every day, we just have to not eat the carbs. So, as you say, any addiction, okay, say I'm addicted to food. What is the solution? Lay off the food.
Yeah.
You just have to do it.
Over the last year, I've met a bunch of people who are actually going to be making classes, master classes at the Adapter Life Academy. The Adapter Life Academy is the kind of my side hustle company to get the information outside the clinic. And one of the people who created a class is Dr. Vera Tarman. She's an addiction specialist in Toronto, and she has a wonderful book called Food Junkies. So if any of this, kind of, I crave foods, it's hard for me to give them up, hard to avoid them, check out the book Food Junkies. Also the podcast she has, Food Junkies, is fantastic. She did a class, it's closed now, you can't sign up. It was just opened and closed, and anyway, I've learned a lot from her clinical approach, because she's treated all sorts of addictions, including food and sugar addiction. And she says the approach that we use is a great one for certain kinds of food addiction, like sugar addiction, But she works with people who are of all sorts of food pattern, vegans and vegetarians and meatitarians and.
Oh, by the way, in Costco yesterday, right next to the 4505 pork rinds, delicious chile and lime, chile and limon, right next to them. Pig out pork rinds, pigless pork rinds, vegan pork rinds. I don't think that word means what they think it means.
So, do you know those showed up in the keto food delivery?
You mentioned that because the kid thought it was.
They thought it was a pork rind, and it was pigless pork rind.
Pigless pork rind.
There were more carbs in there.
I think you're a really dedicated vegan if you need to think that you're eating some pig.
Well, and nobody's making zucchini out of meat.
Right.
I think I learned that one from you. Why did they want to make vegetables into things that are like meat?
You want to be a vegan? Be a vegan. You want to eat meat? Eat meat.
Yeah.
Let's squeeze it up. Let's squeeze a few more questions in because we're coming up to 8.
Oh, wow.
Time flies when you're alive. Look at that watch.
Time flies when you're talking about brisket. Okay. Annie asks, my husband and I have been living a ketogenic lifestyle for almost 3 years. We stay below 20 carbs per day. My hubby has shrunken a lot, but his is still like a bowling ball, although he lost 85 pounds. So it sounds like we're talking about belly fat, male belly fat.
No es bueno.
What's the question?
I guess, I presume, is even though they've been living this way for 3 years, he's not seeing a reduction in the waist. I hope that's a fair paraphrase.
Well,
and they're staying below 20 grams of carbs.
They actually lost weight?
85 pounds.
Well, maybe he's just going through the process.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Stay on it.
Stay on
Yeah,
it.
and the 20 gram rule gets messed up if you use net carbs and not total carbs. The 20 gram rule gets messed up if you eat a ton of cheese, cream, mayonnaise, which is strictly limited on page 4.
Oh, wow. You're forceful today.
Thank you. It's been 2 years.
It has been 2 years. I missed you so much. Okay, sorry to make another question.
2 long years. Okay, moving on. There's a question on non-page 4 food items. Is cottage cheese, unsweetened 100% dark chocolate, and deli meat? So we've got 1 yes and 2 not on the list. But the question is, are they safe to eat?
So because you made the trek here, you get all the secrets. If you're having it and it's working, it's okay. If what you're doing isn't working and you're eating something that's not on page 4, it's not okay. So I'm changing the rules a little bit there because I want success. So I don't go to bed thinking, did everyone stay to page 4? Oh, God. Oh, good Lord. No, it's more, did everyone have success? And why did that person not have success? Was it the nut pods? Was it the lupin flower? I don't know. So anyway, so yeah, there's possible. So let me say it another way. I've had people eat those sorts of things and do great. But the only way to know if it'll work for you is to try it. And then, 2-week period, 2-week trial of off of something or trying something is a good duration. Don't want to like day to day make these kinds of changes. Give it a couple weeks.
And I think a good thing, if I can ask you to highlight the fact that your page 4 isn't just a carb counting game. It actually reflects the clinical practice that you observed, and that you've got that from Dr. Atkins. So can you talk just briefly about that?
Yeah, and of course, my colleagues at Duke, once all of the studies were done, said, well, you cheated. You went to visit Dr. Atkins and got his information. And I said, well, I didn't cheat. Anyway, you can't win with other research colleagues. But so when I was faced with these two people having success, I thought, let me go talk to all these doctors who use this approach. And the only doctor that really had a clinic still going full tilt was Dr. Atkins. So I went to visit, and Jackie Everstein was there. I sat in her office, and I said, what do you do? And they had this list of foods. It turned out to be page 4 because it was the 4th page of my handout. That's kind of funny. But the list had been vetted and developed over 30 years in New York City from Dr. Atkins' practice. And that's why you're going to see someone who just pulls a book off the shelf and writes a keto book today not have the same success as our approach, which, again, I didn't make it up. I just did the science to make it credible or to show that it really was valid, and it was really Dr. Atkins and Jack Eberstein that came up with it. The most common things I see are too much cheese, cream, mayonnaise. So these things that are 0 carbs, but they are high calorie. Too much cheese will keep you from losing weight, even though it's, eat until you're comfortably full. So there's a strict limit of 4 ounces of cheese on that first page when you get started. So yeah, and then cream's the other big one. And then, things like bulletproof coffee, where you put 400 calories in this coffee, and then you have 4 of them throughout the day. That's 1,600 calories of drinking.
It's like a lot of chocolate.
And then if your chopples are out of control, like Casey's problem with choppal, I think you're the only one that's had choppal problems. Okay, maybe not.
You talk about cheese. I think I said this at the last online meeting. I've been doing this for now well over 8 years, and I've been weight stable. I'm in and out.
Yeah, hold on. Try this mic. This one's.
I've been essentially weight stable for 5 years, more than 5 years, with a very small weight fluctuation on any given day. First thing I do on my morning snippets for my Patreon support group is I say, the scale read X number of pounds, or 1/10 of a pound or 5/10 of a pound lower or higher than it did yesterday, because weight fluctuates. But something I've been doing for the last month or 6 weeks is I've been fine-tuning. First, I was eating like a kid in a ranch dressing store when I first started. I was so happy with all the food I could eat. And then I required less food, and my hunger went away, and I grew smaller, which sounds like an oxymoron, and then I ate less, and I needed less, and I got older, and I'm older now. I am actually now pretty much cutting back on cheese. Not eliminating it, I'm not anti-cheese. But when someone like me, my body composition, my stage of life, I average about 900 or 1,000 calories a day, and I eat really good food. It's really dense. But if I add an extra couple of slices of cheese, just, cheese, this is cheese. That's 100 calories per slice. So I will have gone up to 1,200 calories. I've increased my caloric intake by 20%, which someone of my stature and my stage of life, that's a big differential. And my weight hasn't really fluctuated, but I had started to feel more literally weighted down. So now that I've kind of cut that out, I don't eschew cheese, I'm more mindful of it. And a quick grab and go, a drive-by of cheese, that and cream, heavy cream, so delicious. But my husband and I, we measure it in our coffee, 2 teaspoons measured, because it's easy to gloop, 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 gloop. So anyway, the page 4 is great, but you might find that you need to tweak or fine tune as you go along because you require less food and you get older.
Hey, everybody. Let's close it with this final question. And that was a nice segue because we're talking about eating when you're hungry, only eating when you're hungry. Question. I eat 1 meal a day for about 1.5 years, and I am almost eating a carnivore diet. I'm male, 5'9", and weigh 148. My blood pressure has been 130/90 for the last 20 years. Will that diet lower this blood pressure?
Why don't you find out? Oh, sorry. I have yet to find a paper on the carnivore diet published. There are none. There are no papers on the carnivore diet. Do you want to follow the carnivore diet? There are a lot of people who follow the carnivore diet. Dr. Sean Baker is one of the opinion leaders, and he's a very tall orthopedic surgeon. And does that give him credibility? So I don't know. Actually, what I teach is almost carnivorous because the vegetable matter is very, very low. And I asked I asked Amber O'Hearn, who also is kind of a carnivore thinker, to do a paper on whether the carnivore diet can be one that provides all the essential nutrients that you need. From my standpoint, if you get sufficient protein and its animal sources, you're going to get the fats you need, and you're probably going to get all the vitamins and minerals you need. I mean, think about the animals that are true carnivores. I mean, they don't eat plants unless they want to vomit, So, if you've had domestic animals, that's what, they do. But, so I don't know. The interesting thing about the carnivore diet, measuring all of the things that we typically measure, some people, including Sean Baker at least once, had an elevated A1C, hemoglobin A1C, which is a reflection of 3 months of blood glucose, even though his blood glucose is normal. And that has a lot of people scratching their heads, is why does this test that carb eaters use is always normal, but someone who's not eating carbs, someone doing a carnivore diet, why is it not following the same pattern? So we're going to find like cholesterol levels don't always follow the same pattern when you don't eat carbs. And so I don't have enough information to know if the carnivore diet will fix that blood pressure. And I know you pressed a button in me, and I'm a professor, and you can fall asleep in front of me, and I'll keep talking. And the approach that we've been using now for 20 years was used for 30 years before we started using it. It was used then for 70 years before that, and now there are many, many papers published on the approach that I use. And that's why I teach what I teach and kind of call out these other opinion leaders to do research. Sean Baker, not to be, a shy person, but did a GoFundMe, and I contributed some money, and now they're studying people following a carnivore diet. They did a descriptive study where they're showing blood tests, and now they're doing actually a prospective study, clinical trial, to see how it will work in real people, real humans, and that's good. So the other really nice thing about it, the keto world, is in general we don't stand on our laurels and say, ha, see, everything's proven. No, we try to get new research done, including the carnivore research, the cholesterol research that's being done. All of that's really interesting, and there's a lot to be learned about this approach. In my experience with a low carb diet, blood pressure does go down, but not in everybody. Some people may still need medication, even though I try to get people off the medicines.
Is it possible that at 5'9", 145 pounds, he's otherwise healthy and that is a normal blood pressure for him? 15 years ago, would that not have been a fairly normal blood pressure before they started lowering the blood pressure metrics in order to be able to prescribe more blood pressure medication?
Possibly. Yeah, I was, just as a total aside, is I was talking to this very tall gentleman in the clinic, and his blood pressure was a little on the high side, and so I started Googling, what's the blood pressure of a giraffe? You know it's 210, the systolic? So that you need higher blood pressure the taller you are to get it up, to push it up that high. Anyway, he was a human. Pardon?
I'm off the hook.
You're off the hook. Kyle, how tall are you?
6'2".
6'2". Well, so it makes sense that your blood pressure might be normal and be higher than, are you?
May I say something? I know we need to wrap this up, right? I like symmetry. Yesterday, I had my annual physical with my GP. And I knew the next time, in 2014, I knew the next time I saw her was going to be the conversation. It was going to be the talk about the blood sugar and the blood pressure. And oh, you're so fat. She wouldn't say that. She's very nice. But she had noted in my permanent record, Casey continues to struggle with her weight, factual. I continue to recommend a low-fat diet, more exercise. That's what she recommended. I didn't want to do that. January, I went for my physical in April. I'd lost maybe 20 pounds by then. And so I go, now, you know, I don't know about you guys, but you go from dreading the doctor to, I can't wait to go to see the doctor. I'm going to show them what I did. I walked in with a copy of Good Calories, Bad Calories. Just not to throw it in her face, but I just, of all books. The first time I met Dr. West, he said he talked about this book, Good Calories, Bad Calories by Gary Taubes, and I said, I read that book. He said, I need to shake your hand. I know doctors who haven't read that book. Well, I said, it took me 9 months. It was like labor and pregnancy and labor, except labor and pregnancy was easier. Anyway, so she said, oh, you've lost weight. What did you do? I said, you know what I did? I did exactly the opposite of what you told me to do. I've been eating a lot of fat, and I haven't moved a muscle. And I said, oh, and then she looks at the book, she goes, that's great, but I'm worried about your cholesterol. I said, I've heard that before. You know what? Let's check it. And it's not your fault that you're worried about it. You were taught the wrong thing. Not your fault. And to her credit, she did not kick me out of her office. She did not get her back up. Okay, well, okay. So we go through the rest of it. She pulls the stuff, and I want a full lipid profile, by the way. So I'm now on my permanent record from that year. It reads, Casey, this is an excellent profile. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. So now, 70 pounds later, and now I've had a couple of other, I go in to see her. Hey, how's it going? You still doing the keto? I am. That's great. Any medical issues? Nope. My blood pressure was like 111 over 72, but I'm not a giraffe. And she says, okay, have any problems with this? Nope. Okay, I had I wrenched my knee. She checked that out, and no medications. She said, okay, well, keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you next year. And that is a successful medical checkup as far as I'm concerned. So I just wanted to share that, and it was just the food.
Amen. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next month.
First Tuesday of June.
First Tuesday of the month.
Yep.
Every month.
Same bad channel.
Same bad time, same bad channel. Thank you for watching on the live, and hope to see you next month. Thanks again.
Thanks, Kyle.